Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of Straight Up No Chaser. I am your host, Mike Genius, and I hope they're being safe in these corona streets. As you can see, I still ain't got that haircut. I still ain't made, even though they opened it up, still ain't made it to the barbershop, but it's all right. You know, hey, I got that COVID excuse right now. So, but anyway, we gonna get right to it. Was watching DL Hughley on The Breakfast Club this week, and he said some things in response to Diddy's view on voting. Now, I didn't think what Diddy said was too controversial. Could have expanded on what he said, but I didn't think what he said was too controversial. But when DL Hughley came out and said what he said in response to it, it made me go back and revisit what Diddy said. So here's what DL Hughley had to say on
What
the
do you,
breakfast.
what do you think about people discussing, quote, holding your vote hostage because they want to make sure that
Don't say
certain
people.
things.
Diddy,
I think
me.
Puff.
Yeah, but
I think
there's
that
a lot
was.
of people that are agreeing with that. So people are
I think
saying that.
well, and a lot of people agree to anything. There was a lot. If somebody said they were Jesus, thousands of people would take up the call. So that's stupid, but it's dumb. Black people are dying from this. Black people. So maybe and Puffy's statement was irresponsible and deadly. I'll tell you this: Black people are dying disproportionately from this. We are. Us is us is us. Our grandfathers, our mothers, our fathers. So maybe what we get right away is somebody who isn't unconcerned that we are dying. Maybe we get to fucking survive. How about that? How about take that? How about we survive?
See, DL Hughley has this approach that the objective is to get our person elected, and let's not even ask for anything. We've done that before. We've blindly voted as our community has blindly voted for politicians over and over again without actually asking for anything in return. And what Diddy said wasn't really controversial. I thought that what he said was something that needed to be said. I thought what he said was something that should have been obvious because voting is an exchange. And basically, here's what Diddy said.
The black vote is not going to be for free. We're going to have to see some promises. You know, what are we getting in return for our vote? Nothing has changed for Black America. And in order for us to vote for Biden, we can't be taken for granted like we always are because we're supposed to be Democrats or because people are afraid of Trump. It's whoever's going to take care of our community, whoever wants to make a deal. It's business at this point. You know, we can't trust politicians, you know, so we want to know very clearly, just like Trump made it clear that he wanted to build a wall. Biden needs to make it clear that he's going to change the lives and quality of life of Black and brown people, or else he can't get the vote. I will hold the vote hostage if I have to.
I agree with that. We can't just go in and say our vote is for free just so we can get our man in office or our party leader in office or our whoever in office without asking for anything because voting is an exchange and voting should be something. Okay, what are you going to do for me to earn my vote? And if we're not going out and we're not asking what a politician can do to earn our vote, then why are we actually voting? Are we, why are we actually voting if we're not going to get anything in return? Because we are going to, what the objective is to cause less harm or the worst of two evils, and I've heard all of these things, and we really have to kind of think about it. And when you look at what Puffy said, he got a lot of backlash on it, which I thought was crazy. And Jamie Foxx came out and said something, came out with this long, elaborate thing, and it basically said nothing. I'm a fan of Jamie Foxx and all that, and very talented brother. But when it comes to politics, when you make a statement, and basically in his statement, he said that there's no such thing as a perfect candidate, or there's not a perfect candidate, or something to that effect. Puffy didn't say that we needed perfection. P. Diddy didn't come out and say we want the perfect candidate or we're looking for this box this person has to be in. He basically said that what are we getting in return for putting you in office? That is what he actually said. Our vote is not for free. It's going to cost. So bring something to the table. Um, and then another thing, I saw a clip from Roland Martin who came out and said that uh, we needed to, he understood what Puffy said, but we needed to get together and get some type of infrastructure together and come in, and we needed to go and get other celebrities and get buses together and come to Biden with how many votes we don't have to do all that. There's not, that's like way too much. Like you go and if you go and you get this whole infrastructure laid out and you get all these people registered to vote and you get all these people ready to do it and you present that to Joe Biden, you've already done legwork. You've already got these people excited about voting. You've done this and you still haven't gotten anything in exchange. Then you present that to Joe Biden, and what if he says kick rocks? You've done used up all this energy and you ain't got nothing. So no, you don't have to do that. There's basically three things that you have to come to the table with when you look at Joe Biden. You look at the first thing you have to do is say what Puffy said is, hey, our vote is not for free. Next thing you have to do is show what happened in 2016. You look at Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Iowa. All of those states went from Obama in the previous election to Trump in the 2016. So basically, what is your roadmap to get to 270? You go to Biden and you say, how can you get to 270 without the black vote? There's no way around it. There's no way. I mean, there's nothing around it. And when you look at black people since 1936, black people have voted majority Democratic in every presidential election. In every presidential election, black people have voted majority Democratic, right? On top of that, it's not that it's just a majority. Since around 1980, we're looking at close to 90% of black voters for a presidential election, black people voting for a Democrat, right? That says that basically if I get you 100 people to the polls, every 100 people I get to the polls, 90 of them or more are going to vote Democrat, right? So how are you going to get to 270? Is the question. Without Michigan, without Ohio, without Pennsylvania, because when you look at it, you're not going to be able to flip these states without the urban vote. And urban, we all know, is code for black. And that's it. Now, you're going to have to do two things. Joe Biden is going to have to do two things in this election. One, he's going to have to maintain the states that Hillary kept blue. So he's going to have to maintain those states, right? Because Hillary Clinton didn't flip one state in the last election. She didn't turn any states from red to blue. But Trump flipped states from blue to red. So let's look at a couple of things. If you're going to win this next election, if you're going to go into 2020, you're going to say that I am going to beat this opponent, then what is your strategy? Where are you going to get those votes from? What states are you going to flip? Are you going to flip Wisconsin? Are you going to flip Michigan? How are you going to flip Michigan without Detroit? How are you going to flip Pennsylvania without Philly? How are you going to flip Ohio without Cleveland? You know what I'm saying? It's in Cincinnati. How are you going to, you need the black vote in Florida. You have to look at those aspects of it. And basically when we start talking about the black vote and when we start talking about what we're going to get in exchange, we have to start looking at that we are in a very good position right now. Right now, if you want the White House, if you want Trump out, if that is your objective, you're going to have to give us something. And let's talk about, I'm going to break this down into three parts, right? First of all, I want to talk about why we need to actually be asking for something, right? The next part is who Joe Biden actually is, because that's very important as well. And that's very important in why we need to ask specific things. The last thing is the lift every voice response of his plan. We want to look at what he actually came up with and kind of break that down and say and basically analyze that in a way to say, is this really truly a black agenda, or is this something slapped together just so we can say he got something? It's like, here you go, take this or leave it. So let's kind of look at why. First, let's look at why we need to be asking these questions, right? So first, let's look at Michigan, right? Michigan, we all know about Flint. Flint with the lead in the water. And when you also look at Michigan, you look at Detroit. Detroit has a water crisis as well. So you're looking at Michigan, and you look at Flint, and you look at Detroit, and you see that there's a water crisis going on in these urban areas. When you look at Detroit, had 141 households that have been that had to have their water disconnected since 2014. 141,000 households in the city of Detroit since 2014. And if memory serves me right, 2014 Obama was still in office. So this was going on since the Obama administration. So what are you going to do for these people? Now they have suspended these shutoffs, and they have started reversing that. But what happens when the next pandemic happens? What happens when the next recession happens? What happens when the economy turns back around for the worse for these same people? Because when you look at Detroit, almost 4 in 10 Detroit residents live in poverty. And when you look at Detroit's demographic breakdown, when you say 4 in 10 people living in poverty, then you're talking about black people. And if you're talking about black 4 in 10 people living in poverty, you having this huge surge of water cutoffs you're having in Detroit, and you're having lead in the water in Flint. What are you going to do on a national level to help these people out? Because what are you going to do? You know, on a federal level, on a national level, what are you going to do to help these people out? To gain their vote? What is your plan for these people to gain their vote? Because as we see, you need Michigan, and you're not going to get Michigan without Detroit and Flint. You have to have urban areas. There's rural Michigan, rural Wisconsin, rural Ohio, rural Pennsylvania, and rural Iowa are all Trump supporters. You have to go to the urban areas. There's no way around it. So when people are sitting up here talking about the objective is to get Trump out, no, the objective is to let Biden know that, hey, if you want our assistance, if you want our vote, if Joe Biden is going to say that he really is serious about winning the presidency, he's going to have to flip some states back. And in order to flip some states back, got to get the black vote. This is nowhere around it. Mother Jones came out with an article last month, and it's basically said you're just screwed why black-owned businesses are struggling to get coronavirus relief funds. Basically, these black businesses are going to be struggling to maintain their doors open after this pandemic. After everything opens up, how many black businesses are going to be opening up? One of the things that this article states is that all loan terms will be the same for everyone. But we now know that those equal terms did not translate into equal access to the federal funds. Banks screened out businesses that they hadn't previously lent money to, and reportedly gave preferential treatment to wealthier clients. You did not have a relationship with these banks prior to this pandemic, right? And if you didn't have capital going into this pandemic, then the banks wasn't really your loan application was basically pushed to the side, right? So your loan applications, we're in the middle of a pandemic, you're struggling, the Treasury Department comes out, and the Small Business Administration comes out, and they're going to put funds together to help out small businesses, and you as a black business can't gain access to the president of the United States. What are you going to do to remedy actions like that? You see these type of actions. What is your plan on that? What is your plan to make sure that black businesses gain access? Ran out before their applications were even reviewed because they were putting their current clients and the wealthier clients first, basically. And you got Ruth Chris and the Lakers getting money, even though these companies gave that money back, but they were able to apply, get money, to have the opportunity to make a decision whether they should give it back or not. The black businesses did not have that opportunity. So when you say let's just vote blindly and hope something good happens in the end, you're not using that power. Your vote has to have some type of power. The power that your vote has is to say, hey, this is what happened under the Trump administration or during the Trump administration's watch. This is what happened. What are you going to do? If you're the president of the United States, what are you going to do to prevent this from happening? And if I agree with your plan, if you come up with a plan that I think is sufficient, then yes, I will give you my vote. But if you don't come up with a plan that's going to be able to be sufficient enough to make sure that things like this happen, why am I giving you my vote? Why are we voting for you for nothing? Just so we can say that we got another person we're going to put one person in that's not going to do anything for us because instead of this other person who's not doing anything for us, just because this person is nicer, because this person talks friendlier. Like, that's our standard now, is that friendly talking. And I think the only reason why Biden is basically in the position he is right now is because he was Obama's vice president. We're going to get to that in part 2, but just being Obama's vice president shouldn't be enough in that. Just because you got a black friend doesn't mean that we should give you our vote. That just doesn't make sense to me. Now, moving right along, on this same article, it goes on, it talks about a study that was done in 2017. A 2017 study from Federal Reserve Banks of Atlanta and Cleveland found that black business owners apply for funds at 10% higher rate than white-owned firms. But their approval rates are nearly 20% lower. When black entrepreneurs do get approved for financing, only 40% receive the full amount they requested, compared to 70% of white businesses. Now let's look at that. Let's think about that. So I apply more and I get less, basically. So what are you going to do? And this, one of the study took place not only in Atlanta but also in Cleveland. Cleveland is one of the cities that you're going to need support from, and then they're doing studies on the Federal Reserve Bank in Cleveland, and they're finding out that more black people are applying for loans and receiving less money. So they're applying more, they're receiving less. So what are you actually going to do about that? Like, what is your plan to counter that? And those are the questions that we need to be asking. We need to be asking, like, what are you going to do if you want us to flip these states back blue? Then, okay, we can help you do that, but we're going to need something in return. Questions that we need to be asking Joe Biden, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to put in place to make sure that we have that access to capital, same as our counterparts, that we're not just, applying aimlessly and getting less money? What are you going to do on a national level, on the federal level, as the president of the United States? What are you going to do to ensure that these black businesses, these that are going to have the same access to capital as their white counterparts? That's why what Puffy said to start the conversation was important, because what it caused a reaction from Joe Biden for him to do that Lift Every Voice initiative as a black agenda. We have the Congressional Black Caucus who just threw their support behind Biden. And why is the Congressional Black Caucus throwing all their support behind Joe Biden. What has he said that he's going to do for the black community? You have to go to your congressman or your representative or go to members of the Congressional Black Caucus and ask them why have we given our support blindly to Joe Biden without asking for anything in exchange besides getting Trump out of office? Because what does that do for the black community if Trump is out of office? It's the same thing it does right now. It doesn't do anything. Stay tuned for part 2. We're going to go, because people are telling us to blindly vote for Joe Biden, let's kind of figure out in part 2, let's go over who Joe Biden really is. Who is this guy that people just want us to throw our support behind? So until part 2, peace.